Welcome to the Signal 50 podcast, episode 5. How you doing there, Bravo?
Alpha, it's a great day today.
It is. It is. It's a
Really
pretty
is.
good day. Pretty good day. Not too bad. Not too bad. Before we get into our banner, we want to go over a few things right up top, give you the bottom line up front, as always. We're new at this, obviously. This is our 5th program. Think we're coming along okay. Learning a lot about analytics and how to run things and some user feedback. And we want to talk a little bit about the format. You know, we tried it as a video podcast, and we're going to keep doing that because, quite frankly, when you start getting into this, that's the easiest entry point to market or easiest entry point to an audience, right?
Sure.
The whole theory of doing a 20-minute video and then cutting over to audio, like we said last time, it's very difficult. It's difficult.
We lost a lot of people, Alpha.
Yes.
People were like into it, and then we stopped it, and then you have to go over to this over here. It's kind of like flying, and you have to not to get there, you have to go somewhere else to get on another plane to get there finally. So it's kind of like that.
People were missing the connection. So
that's right. They missed the connection, and then they went to customer service and said, "I want my money back."
Pretty much for free. We're giving you something that we pay to do, and you listen to for free, and we get complaints, which is odd, but not surprising in this new modern era.
That's right.
I'll complain about something I'm getting for free. All right.
Yes.
No problem. So, so we've come to realize that we're obviously a better podcast than a video. Okay. But there are certain people, certain consumers of this kind of media that do listen to these things in the background on a video player, whether it be YouTube, we see the numbers, or Rumble. We see the numbers. So people are listening while they're doing other things, because I can't imagine they're sitting there looking at my stupid little icon and your stupid little icon for 45.
It's not stupid. It's representative.
Well, okay. Well, fair enough.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna keep posting it that way, but concurrently, what we're going to do is we are going to be running the entirety of the broadcast in podcast format. We're going to run right through with the video. Just for everybody's information, these things chew up a ton of memory. Ton.
Like, we'll have to buy more hard drives if we keep, having 2 different versions and have to do all this editing. It's amazing that you don't realize until you start doing it.
Yeah, things we should have read about before we started into this on a Wednesday afternoon, and a few days later we had our first episode, and then we're like, "Oh, now what are we doing?"
But well, anyhow, I like doing by doing, and then kind of adjust as you go along with some help from others. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's kind of like learning in the middle of a gunfight. Probably a bad idea.
But that's a bad idea.
That's a very, very bad idea. So the quick hits, the bottom line up front. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the president being discharged from the hospital.
Yay!
Yay! Good for him. That's great news. You always want the captain of the ship to be healthy. You always want the best possible outcome for anybody's health, regardless. Republican, Democrat, president, regular guy, it doesn't make any difference. We want everybody to be good, and the president's okay, seemingly okay. And if he's not okay, he's doing a really good job of hiding it, which is what a good leader does. So that's great. Very interesting. I have to drive past Walter Reed every day on the way home. So today I drove up Wisconsin Avenue. I can drive past Walter Reed. There's a couple of different ways to go. Normally I take one side of the campus there, and sometimes I take the other, and today I took the other. Really cool to see everybody outside rallying for the president. Very cool.
Amazing. Yeah. And to hear that, did you miss him leaving, or did you miss the motorcade when he drove by everyone? And
I didn't see any of that. And when you live in this town, the last thing you want to get tied up in is a presidential motorcade.
Ah, I see.
You don't want to get tied up in that. So moving along. The media seems to be losing their minds over the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the members of the Democratic Party, they're flipping their wigs. So that's interesting. And moving along to our next topic, in general, the mainstream media, they're at it again,
Mm-hmm.
telling false narratives about just about everything, right?
Oh, they're gaslighting to the point where I'm surprised there's any fuel left to burn anything.
Right.
Right?
It's Tucker Carlson. The virtue is the sin with the Democratic
Mm,
Party.
well
Hat tip
said by
Tucker.
Mr. Tucker. Yep.
Absolutely. So we're coming to the point now where I strongly believe that not very many people believe what they're saying anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've run out of steam.
Mm-hmm.
And in our opinion section, after we hit our high points in the discussion, we're going to talk a little bit about the vice presidential debate coming up. I think that's going to be very interesting. What do you think, Bravo?
Well, I got my crystal ball back from the repair shop, and I'm going to try it out. We're going to try and see how it works. The other day I dropped it. It wasn't working very well, and now I got it fixed, and we'll try it. We want to try and bring forth the different points that we think they're going to hit and what it's going to happen, and maybe draw some differences between the presidential debate and the vice presidential debate. So we'll talk about it.
Sure. Let's back up the train a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit back to the format, and this is kind of like a little bit of commentary here I wanted to add. For everybody that's listening, we could very easily turn our cameras on, and in a normal world, I wouldn't have a problem doing that. But it seems that everybody has a problem with everybody else, and expressing my opinion and Bravo expressing his opinion in an open format like this is just ammunition for people to try to ruin my life and ruin Bravo's life.
Yep.
So we're really in an interesting time where free speech is, it's not gone, but there's a really high price that you have to pay to be counter to the mob, right?
Yeah. When we started this last week, are we coming up on a week already?
Yes.
Alpha?
Yeah,
Are we? Yeah.
pretty close to a week.
And when it comes to expressing our opinions, we want to be part of that discussion. We want to help get the ideas out there. We decided that money was not important to us, but we wanted to give some ideas out there by two average Americans, two average Joes. And it's sad at my current work area that I have been brought into the office and threatened because of what I believe in. And you feel powerless. You have no ability to fight back because they'll just throw you out. And there's a lot of people that I work with who would love to see me go bye-bye, and because they feel that their beliefs and their thinking is better than mine. So that's kind of why we're not really jumping out there with our names. We'll let you figure out what we do for a living. But we wanted to share that with you, and thank you for listening. So.
Right. Well said. Who we are makes no difference. What we say does. It's substance that matters. Yeah. And on that note, just wanted to throw that in because it's really difficult because I'm not afraid. I have a family to feed, right?
Yep.
Bravo has a family
So
to feed. The older you get, the harder you work, the more you have to lose. And believe me, these people out there would like nothing more than for people like us to lose everything for sport.
And
I'm not interested in that.
we mentioned in the first couple of episodes why we feel this is important to do. The do matters. Again, thanks to Mr. Bongino for teaching us that.
That's right.
But we want to make sure that we get the word out, and that we're not different. If you're listening to us, you can have different reviews and disagree with us.
Fine.
And we'd love to hear you disagree. What you think. We're all here to learn. It's when the imposing one's values on someone else and making value judgments about those values is where I stand up and have to take that on the best way that myself and Alpha knows how, and that's getting the word out.
Right, and this is our way of putting some skin in the game,
Yep.
as much as we can. So,
sure.
Without a whole lot more delay, and we're going to climb down off the soapbox now. Thanks for listening.
Although we are on top of the hill, kind of being the town crier. We are the town crier, the anonymous town crier.
Pretty much. So let's move on to our stories we want to cover.
Sure.
Let's cover a little bit about the president and his challenge. He put out a tweet today, and for those listening on podcast, and maybe some people don't like to play with Twitter. I hate Twitter. Said it before. Say it again. Greatest tweet
in the dumpster fire.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm going to read the tweet to you from Donald Trump, President Trump, at 2:37 this afternoon. I will be leaving the great Walter Reed Medical Center today at 6:30 p.m. Feeling really good! ! Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. We have developed under the Trump administration some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago!
I get excited hearing that. I am wow. That's awesome.
Well, it is awesome. Listen, anybody that does not like this guy, fine. I get it. I get it. I don't like everything he says, but the man speaks from personal experience. He got the same treatments that you and I could get if we were to come down with this and had symptoms that were bad enough for us to seek treatment. Medical interventions out there. The emergency rooms are not swamped. People are not dying like they were, or it's not being reported. I think it's getting old for the news, the narrative. So we'll move on to that in a little while.
But they are only reporting numbers of people getting it. Schools are shutting down because people are getting it. What they're not talking about is the death rates. Again, bodies aren't piling up outside of emergency departments. There aren't any zombies walking around with COVID.
Right.
That people are surviving and they're getting better. And that's what they're not telling you.
In looking at the numbers, Bravo, correct me if I'm wrong, on average, it's between 0.3 and 0.7% fatal for those that get it, depending on the age bracket, correct?
Is that 0.03 to 0.07?
0.03 to 0.07, pardon me, that's correct.
Because it makes it, quote, 97% or 95%. Like when you take the decimal point, move around. Anyway, yeah.
Right. So it's a small number, thankfully.
Very small
number of those that get it will succumb to this.
And remind everyone when they talk about, the press is not talking about this, so we will. Someone comes down with this, and look at the press. Let's just look at the most famous person that had the Wuhan virus here. President Trump. He did a when he was doing his last rally, he sounded pretty winded, really a little tired. I thought he was sounding a little bit tired. He was getting through there. And at that point, one of his staffers tested positive. Hope, her last name? Anyway.
Hope Hicks.
Hope Hicks, thank you. Hope Hicks tested positive. He tested positive. and then the rest of it went downhill. They immediately confirmed it with the most sensitive test that they have, is a confirmation test, and off he went. Then they made the announcement. He then is treated. They were monitoring him. They felt that it was important to send him to the hospital and admit him. He got treated, and he was receiving the medication. There was a whole bunch of different medications. We won't go into them, for sake of time. However, responded very well, and he, to stay in a hospital at anyone's age, it doesn't matter if you're young or old. There are so many what they call nosocomial diseases or infections, meaning infections that are obtained at a healthcare facility, passed on either by procedures or by someone else coming in the room taking care of you, gets passed on from one to the other, and they can be just as bad. So nosocomial infections, you don't want to be in the hospital. If you can get better at home, go home. And
well, I think the leading cause of death in hospitals is secondary infection.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Staph, strep, C. difficile, any number of different things, pneumonia, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on and on. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times, and as I'm sure you have. Yep. So, look, all right, the guy's a machine. He gets diagnosed with it last week, and now they're sending him home. Okay, you're good. Yep. Go home. Is he 100%? I don't think he's 100%. I think he's probably not feeling great, but you know what? I think he's doing good. And I think it's important. And I think this is an important message to people like me and perhaps you or others who think that, you know what, I'm not going to be afraid of this. Back to the mortality rate of COVID, the 0.03 to 0.07% fatal, depending on age bracket. That fatality rate is for a disease we do not have a vaccine for.
Correct.
The fatality rate for the common flu A, flu B, or other variants of generic influenza is significantly higher.
Yep.
And it spreads just as quickly. Well, almost just as quickly.
Right. And just as a point here, Alpha, I would just say that when people succumb to influenza, they don't get recorded as influenza. They don't keep counting numbers through the entire summer and keep the number on a chyron or a graphic on the side of the screen, and keep the numbers going to keep everyone nervous. They say
that's part of the narrative now, isn't it?
Ah, yes. And they will say someone succumbed to pneumonia, secondary influenza maybe, or their heart gives out, or they die of sepsis or urinary tract infection, or what we call, or pyelonephritis, which is an infection in the kidneys. You go, all those things from the care. Usually it's pneumonia. From my experience, it's been pneumonia that people succumb to from. But anyway, that's really what it comes down to. It's again a narrative, which kind of leads into our next story.
Well, it does lead nicely into the next segment here. Mm-hmm. It's about the media and the narrative and what everyone's being told.
Mm-hmm. Again, why is it? And just to briefly, to start this topic off, watching the coverage from President Trump's stay at the hospital, everyone on, there was huge crowds. You saw it, Alpha. You witnessed how many people were there. Could you estimate how many people were there? Doesn't matter, right? A lot of people, right?
Let's call it many hundreds.
Okay. And not only, the media has been reporting, we want him to get better, but it's his fault he got it, or we want to make, you hear on Twitter people wishing him ill will, not good wishes.
Right.
Why? What is it about this situation? And again, we talked about this last show, right? You know, the humanity, the understanding where we want the best for everybody. It's very disturbing. And I was listening to like we mentioned last show, Dr. Steve Turley, and he mentioned a theory that really struck home with what we're talking about just right now. And he mentioned this agenda setting theory. And I went and looked it up, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about it. And Alpha, it'd be interesting to find out that back in 1972, Maxwell and McCombs communications, at the universities they have different departments, and
this was an Oxford study, wasn't it? This was a
Yep.
paper
This was
written
an
out of
Oxford
Oxford.
study.
And we'll put that link up in the on the site on YouTube, and we'll put it up on Rumble. So if anybody's interested in reading up on the Maxwell and McCombs paper about agenda setting and the agenda setting theory, and we'll summarize it at a very, very high level. I mean, it's very involved. It's a scientific paper. Okay, so there's two kinds of people in the world.
Right.
There's academics.
Yep.
And there's everybody else. Right.
And what is it about academics? They really they decide that something that you would do on a normal basis every day, just kind of do your thing.
Right.
They actually study it, write about it, get it published, and then it becomes very sophisticated.
Correct. It's just a lot of fancy words to describe
what you do every day.
What you do every day. And the agenda setting theory is seriously, it's a wonderful paper, and it's, I don't know, 10 pages long.
Something like that.
Something like that. It's really a great read of all of the studies that I've read and academic papers that were published. It wasn't horrible to read because it's very applicable. Essentially, it comes down to a couple of different high points, right?
Sure.
And the high points are how is an agenda set?
Right. Who decides it?
Right. And how was it decided?
And how do you get it out there?
Who, how, and why?
That's that. And there you go. Ding.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So there's two basic assumptions in the agenda setting theory, right? The media filters and shapes reality instead of reflecting it.
Or reporting it.
That's right.
Yeah.
News stories aren't presented chronologically, order of importance, anything other than sensationalism. What's sensational? What's the biggest attention-grabbing headline that's emotionally charged and a tiny bit of fact that puts a stake in somebody's recent memory, so they can all they have to do is back the memory bank up to that and say, oh, I remember that.
It's like a tab stop on a typewriter. Well, if you ever use a typewriter, or on a word processor.
We're dating ourselves.
I know we are.
Stop.
But sensational, like young person succumbed to COVID. Did they mention anything in that headline about that person was with multiple comorbidities, or they want you to remember COVID's very scary and someone young died. So everyone that says, well, it's not really and then you start going down this, what I call rabbit hole, where you just start thinking, because it's told to you from an assumed level of authority.
Right.
Anything that's on the internet is true. Is that correct, Alpha?
Well, I would say that instead of, that's where you start thinking. I say that's where people stop thinking. They take things at a very superficial value.
Yep.
They don't read much deeper than a headline. They don't listen much more than, I don't know, what's the average attention span? 45 seconds?
Not even.
Not even. Okay.
Based on our videos. I mean, we do it.
Yeah, well,
but,
I think we hold people's attention for about 17 minutes and 25 seconds on the average, which is,
right.
I think that's doing pretty well.
Sure.
So let's move on. The second assumption states that the more attention the media gives to certain issues, the more likely the public will be to label them as vital, right?
It's vital, right? So
it's
what was
repetition,
been,
repetition, 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 repetition. It's why you see 3 different media outlets, CNN, MSNBC, and CNBC, and NBC and ABC, and sometimes even Fox is guilty of this. Did you ever notice that all of the talking points are all coordinated?
Yep.
Why is that? When
When
you were studying for things in school, how did you remember things? Repetition.
repeat,
Rinse, repeat. Exactly.
lather, rinse, repeat,
and regurgitate.
Yeah.
So that's the critical theory, right? So that's really where it's at.
So,
that's the agenda setting theory in a nutshell.
So then what happens is then everyone's likely to respond to those top stories covered by the local or national news. And then dozens of stories different bunch of studies testified to the political, legal, and economic effects of this agenda setting. So everyone said, well, this is what it must be true because we said so. And then it just kind of falls on itself and gets to be this big avalanche. One rock falls and the rest come down. I think it's also one other thing, Alpha. I think it's the 24-hour news cycle. I think is more of a curse than a blessing. And there is something to say about the days of Walter Cronkite. The evening news, local news. It was a half hour, and we didn't have all these outlets, and that was a little bit too restrictive because if you didn't hear it from Walter Cronkite, it's the way it is, and the way it shall be. That kind of thing.
Right.
Then it was, you didn't know about it. Or the newspapers. Newspapers were really the only daily source you could get. And you had to sit down and read it. And people had routines. They got the newspaper from outside. They would sit down and eat breakfast and read the newspaper. But when
wait a minute. Let's put that into perspective for a quick minute, okay? I agree with everything you're saying, but I think this needs a little bit of regular, real world perspective. When you and I went to school, we were taught how to critically think.
That's true.
If we wanted information, we had to go look for it.
Correct.
And we were taught how to pitch an argument.
Do you remember our first research papers?
Absolutely.
Index cards, bibliographies, going to the stacks, pulling the articles, Xeroxing them, or taking notes,
right,
and then writing about it, and then your sources went with it.
Absolutely. And it was facts are facts, and there are truisms to life.
Correct.
And now people don't even know what bathroom to use. Okay. So, it's how far we have fallen in 30 something years or so. Oh my God. Right. Yeah. So, that's the thing. I mean, what would pass for, if you put a modern day student in our shoes, and you could turn back the hands of time, and I took a high school senior from today's world, and we went, call Marty and Dr. Brown, and let's go 88 miles an hour, and we're going back
in the DeLorean.
Yeah, in the DeLorean.
Right.
We're going back in time, and we're going to wind up in the high school that I graduated from, and we're going to set them in he who shall be nameless's class.
How do you think? What to do.
No,
they wouldn't know what to do.
No. They would. First of all, their feelings would be hurt.
They'd be triggered.
Right. Probably on the ground, sucking their thumb in the fetal position, crying and wetting themselves
because they called them a bad name.
Right. Or they got a quadraphonic noogie. True story.
I know. I get it.
You get it. You
I
get it.
get
I
it.
get it.
We all
It
get
is.
it. Yeah.
We all. Well, now we don't all get it, but
All right.
some people should get it. But that's the difference, right? I mean,
Yeah.
these kids today aren't taught how to critically think, and they're only consumers of headlines. So it's very easy for the agenda to be set for them and the narrative to be shaped for them, because all they look at is a tweet
Mm-hmm.
from somebody. They don't look at what's behind it. They never think critically. They never take a deep dive. They were never taught how to do those things.
And all because of a little device that is just big enough to fit in your pocket and get you all the information you ever needed by punching in a couple of keys, and it comes up on the screen for you.
Exactly. So that being said, it is so much easier for the spread of falsehoods, propaganda, false narratives, and one of the most important things that our media is participating in these days is gaslighting.
Yep.
Tell a lie, tell it
Keep telling it.
repeatedly,
Yep.
tell it convincingly, and
Yes.
repeat, put that stake in somebody's memory and drill it in through multiple outlets and multiple channels, and it's the truth. You
Correct.
tell a lie enough times, it becomes the truth.
Correct. And just to drive the point home, if you think about all of the information that funnels through that little device or the computer, it may be even considered overload alpha. Like it's that you're not able to discern what's coming at you, and you just then start to either say, "Oh, they said so, so I'm just going to take the quote lazy way," because you could spend hours and hours just figuring out what goes or what doesn't,
Right.
or it could be an agenda set by those who want to hold on to power, utilizing Alinsky's rules for radicals.
That's right. It's a isolate, accuse, and attack theory. And
Mm-hmm.
another thing, we could really go run down a rabbit hole with the whole media, educational and modern era of electronic gizmos running everybody's lives.
Mm-hmm.
We could run down that rabbit hole, but it's just become just horrible.
Yeah, it's horrendous. We could, as long as people start to realize that this is the way, or start to kind of understand the way the process works, and then they can think for themselves, we've done our job.
I think the main message here is, don't believe everything you see.
Mm-hmm.
Believe none of what you read and half of what you see. I remember that from high school, from journalism class in college. Believe none of what you read and half of what you see, and that truism of life will serve you well.
And nothing that you're told. If someone tells you something, you really have to kind of say, let me go check on that.
Yeah, we got to check on that. So,
yeah.
Look, I think today's day and age, it's become much easier for those that wish to manipulate a group of people to do so very quickly. I think it's very easy, and it happens at the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just terrible stuff. But we spent a lot of time on that. We encourage you to read the article, about agenda setting, the Maxwell and McCombs paper from Oxford from 1972. If you read it and you put it into, context of through today's lens, it makes an awful lot of sense.
Sure, and that'll be available to you at the notes below.
Absolutely,
and on the podcast too. We can put that on the podcast. You can find it in the description. So
absolutely. Isn't modern technology great? We can get information out there really easily. So
yeah.
So, we're moving on. We're moving on here a little bit into our third point. Um,
The opinion section of the podcast.
yeah, the opinion section. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of looking forward to watching Pence and Harris go at it in a couple of nights.
This is gonna be interesting because it's. I'm sure there's one side that really wants, that uh, wants to keep this on the down low and hope that things don't come up. But I think understanding that it's a typical format. I think 2 lecterns, I believe, right? That's what I was reading. But they're gonna be lots of feet apart, like 12 feet plus. And the moderator of the debate is her name is Susan Page, and she is the USA Today Washington bureau chief. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that's biased against Vice President Pence right off the rip. But I guess it is what it is. He can hold his own, I'm sure.
It is what it is, but you have to remember Mike Pence has been around for a couple of days. Smart guy. I would not let his calm, even, and perfectly on point hair fool you. I think that man is capable of holding his own. He's
I'm sure
he's something else.
Yeah, he's great. I just, again, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays with Harris, who I believe is going to be extremely snarky and also just trying to divert everything away from her and what she said in the past and blame everything on Vice President Pence and President Trump.
Well, yeah, I hear you and I agree, but we have to admit something. Let's call, balls and strikes, right?
Okay.
People who are more inclined to believe in Kamala Harris's ideology, no matter what happens on Wednesday night. Oh, she won. She kicked the crap out of Mike Pence in that debate. And there are people who are more conservative, perhaps like you and I, that even if Pence got on stage and he fell down flat on his face and knocked himself out, he's going to win, right? So let's be honest. This is a stage show.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Agreed?
Agreed. I agree.
Not that that's what I'm hoping for. I think Mike Pence is going to be Mike Pence. He's going to be well-spoken. He is going to be focused. He is going to have his crap together when he gets up there. I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
I think Kamala Harris is going to try to go after him, and he's going to shrug it off, and he's going to be polite. And then I think he's going to do something very unexpected. I think he's going to turn it around on her in a very polite way and put her on the defensive very quickly.
You mean kill her with kindness?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Now, I think it's going to frustrate Harris to no end. It is going to make her even more indignant and double down and triple down, throwing barbs at Vice President Pence. And it's going to make her look even worse. And it's just going to be kind of fun to watch. I am going to bring the popcorn and,
I agree. And a big pitfall that, God, I hope she doesn't listen to this. Somehow I don't think she's going to listen to this.
Yeah, we don't have that many listeners yet. We have a few.
Yeah, we have a few. A solid prediction I'm going to make is she will not hear what I have to say.
Okay.
It's a good thing. The biggest mistake she could make is to go after his faith. That's not going to play well because people that like Mike Pence like him because he's a man of faith. He's a very likable guy. She could fall into that trap very easily. It seems that ideology that she seems to have really seems to gravitate towards attacking somebody's faith.
Because it gets those looks, or it leaves that impression on the impressionable, like we were talking about in the agenda theory. It plays to a leftist without religion, without morals, and really just kind of gets people to kind of click, on that quote barb.
Yeah, I think that if she tries that old trick,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hill she's going to die on. And
Mm-hmm.
I really, really hope I hope she stays above trying to pull the race card
Oh, I doubt
or
it.
the I'm a woman card, or you
No,
know
no,
what?
she's got that too.
She's got a lot
Or
of, yeah, yeah.
well, the moderator again. How much cover? You're not. Vice President Pence is not as bombastic as President Trump is. We all know that, and the hopefully the moderator will not be trying to provide cover for Harris when she starts stepping in certain of those landmines you just mentioned, Alpha. I don't see this going, like this moderator. I really don't know who she is. I haven't read any of her stuff, but the USA Today doesn't really have a kind word to say about the president at all anyway. So I can't see this, that it, again, is this going to be a situation where Vice President Pence is not only debating Harris, but also debating Page. I don't know.
Yeah, that's totally possible. But you know what? Mike Pence has been around for a long time. I'm not worried about him holding his own against, Kamala Harris, in my opinion, and I'm going to put this out there. She's a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Chameleon would be a better way. She changes her skin, over and over again just to fit the narrative and all this,
why would she want to be the running mate of somebody she accused of being a molester? It just doesn't make any sense to me. She's kind of terrible.
Right.
And
Mike she Pence has slipped. She has slipped. See, the Harris under our Harris administration. Like I said, that's a topic for another day. Why do they pick Joe Biden to be? Well, we'll get into that. But Harris has a lot of things he's already said that she's gone back on and changed to pander to certain populations, and now hopefully she'll get called on it and let her step in it.
Well, it's all nothing but virtue signaling. Red meat for the base, right?
Right.
Mike Pence is a very quiet, very hardworking, very diligent man. He's a serious man.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris is not a serious person.
And I hope the Kavanaugh treatment that she portrayed from that, and hopefully get into how she's going. I don't know if it's going to be good to ask her how she's going to approach the upcoming hearings for the next Supreme Court justice. But she was terrible with Kavanaugh. Absolutely, just pandering all over the place and just looking like an idiot. So she's not well respected. Hopefully she'll continue that, and Vice President Pence will stay above the fray, and he'll do his thing. And he has a lot of record to run on. He ran the COVID, the Wuhan virus response team, and he had a lot of people around him, and he was, doing what leaders do: provide environments where people can contribute, be valued, and allow them to do the job that they know that they can do. So those are all leadership traits that Vice President Pence has, and Harris does not.
Well, she's relatively inexperienced. Okay. I'm going to call it like it is, and this is going to be a little harsh, a little not nice. She got where she is because she slept with a very powerful man.
Yep.
And that's how she got where she was.
Yep.
First of all, she's Jamaican and she's Indian, like Indian, Asian Indian. She's not black. She's not an African American at all. She's played that card. She's really a horrible person. She really is terrible, and she really cheapens the argument. You know, she accused her running mate not only of being a rapist, but also accused him of being a racist.
Yes.
And actually he is, but
yeah.
Robert Byrd, and he wrote the crime bill. That's the Biden crime bill, the 94 crime bill that ruined the black community.
Sure.
Just horrible. I can't think of two worse people to put in positions of power in this country than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And my theory as to why they picked Joe Biden, going back to what you said earlier, was I think it's his only last-ditch effort to keep him out of prison. Really hard to go after the guy, all of his Ukrainian and Chinese and his son's dealings when he's running for president, because that's bad luck. That's a bad look. So that's how he got picked. Not to mention that he probably has moderate dementia. He's
easily
horrible.
manipulable.
Oh, he's horrible. He doesn't even know where he is half the time, I don't think.
Exactly.
And I think in the last debate, I think he was wearing a wire.
Oh, I again can't prove it, but there are some really good pictures out there that do demonstrate that, you know, he had something up his sleeve, literally, and a wire up his near his coat pocket. You know, you can see the wire, but you know, and again, we don't have any proof, but this is the opinion part of the show, and there was no. And when he was listening, I don't know if he was those grumblings that he was having was basically agreeing with the person talking in his ear, you know, or it just sounded like he was distracted. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just we could go on for hours about that mess. We did our piece on it.
Yep.
And it's kind of in the history books now, and it's just going to be horrible. I really hope that, look, I don't hate anybody. I just think that Kamala Harris has been on the wrong side of just about everything.
Yep.
Ever. And I think Mike Pence is a genuinely good man. I know that the faith leaders really respect him because he really is a man of God. He really is a nice man. So, you know, I think that we've chopped that up. We're at the 47-minute mark, and we've got a few more minutes to go. You know, we want to wrap this up for you.
Sure.
We think about 47 or 48 minutes, you know, maybe 50 minutes. We want to keep them just under an hour because we're grateful for whatever time you give us, right?
That's right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. So we talked about the newer format. We really hope that you like the newer format, right? We're trying really hard to make this a good product for you. Remember, we're not making any money doing this. Actually, it kind of costs us money, which is okay.
All right.
That's
fine.
Okay.
We have day jobs.
Yeah, that's right. We have day jobs, and this is something we do for fun.
Yep.
I'm enjoying myself.
I'm enjoying myself. Yeah.
Yep. I enjoyed spending time with my friend Bravo. So we're in good shape there. You know, it was great news this week that President Trump was discharged from the hospital without any serious problems that we can see.
Right.
Let's hope that holds true. And it was really nice to see all the people supporting him out in front of Walter Reed.
Yeah, and you actually got to see it.
I did. I did. I was. If I had longer today, I was going to walk up there, and you know, there's been like an all-day vigil going on up there, and there's a great police presence, and there's cops in there with the people with the Trump signs, and everybody seemed to be smiling and having honest to God, having a really good time.
Yeah.
There were no problems, and it was really chill.
And they left it cleaner than they found it.
Yeah. And rumor has it the Trump campaign sent everybody last night, they sent them pizza.
Yeah. And in the New York Post, there's an article that talks about that the Trump campaign really did. I was kind of like, and now, you know, there's going to be Pizzagate they're gonna have a scandal that political PAC violation or some garbage.
Yeah.
People, stop it. Just let them. It was a really good feel good moment. You couldn't tell from the press because again they're telling you a story, not the story. Again, hat tip Dan Bongino. Thank you, sir, for giving us that. But in terms of how we are going to go about this, we're looking forward to the vice president debate. You can bet that we're going to be talking about it afterwards. I think looking at it after and impressions that we're going to have, we'll talk about the highlights. And I hope you'll all join us for that.
Right. And I sincerely hope there are no lowlights, and I hope everybody behaves and they
Mm-hmm.
give it the seriousness that I think it deserves.
Sure.
I look, I may be a conservative kind of libertarianish person. I really do miss having an opposition party with some reasonable ideas, okay, and a reasonable level of behavior. And I really hope that they give it the seriousness that I think it deserves. And it definitely does deserve. And another important message from this week is from the president, his tweet, why we were kind of very impressed with what he put out, and it seems stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, COVID-19, its effects are immense on the country. The most serious effect is a health problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. It can be a very bad virus if you have some challenges. We've gone over it. We've beaten that to death. Without the president said it himself. It's not a death sentence.
Right.
It does not have to be a death sentence. We have ways of treating it, which unfortunately have been politicized. We'll talk about that later, maybe again in another show, or maybe we don't. We've seen enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a death sentence, and I think he was showing some really great leadership by sending out that tweet saying, "Hey, I'm back. I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we've done some really cool stuff. Look at this."
Sure.
So
I agree.
I think that's good stuff. That's a bright point.
Mm-hmm.
Look, now is the time where we plug our affiliate.
Yep.
And we're gonna plug POF USA again. POF, Patriot Ordnance Factory of Chandler, Arizona, manufacturers of some of the finest AR-15 style rifles made anywhere in the world. I'd put them up against anybody. Some really innovative features that you won't find anywhere else. Reasonable price point. The quality is absolutely impeccable, and these are machines that I trust my life to and trust my family's life to. So if you're looking for a great AR-15 style rifle and 22 long rifle all the way up to 7.62 by 5.1, give them a look. Go to pof-usa.com. Again, pof-usa.com. Maybe hopefully sometime in the future we'll have a discount link for you. They do also manufacture accessories. They have a line of clothing. Really cool folks doing really cool things.
Mm-hmm.
This goes out to my friend Frank, who was the owner of the company, family owned. Frank was unfortunately killed in a very tragic car accident a couple of months ago. Great guy. I love talking to him, and I think of him very often. Every time I go to the range and I shoot his rifle that he built for me. So I'm very happy and proud to own it, as you would be too. Again, pof-usa.com. Made by Americans for Americans in Chandler, Arizona. Always American, all the time. Thanks a lot, everybody. Everybody be safe. Election day is coming up. If you're not registered to vote, go get registered to vote. If you know people who aren't registered to vote, go get them registered to vote. You don't have to vote Republican, but you have to vote. That is the American way.
And remember to vote down the whole ticket.
The whole ticket. This is a very important election, and we hope you take it seriously.
That's right. Everyone have a great night. Stay safe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much for your time. God bless everybody.
Take care.
And bless our soldiers, sailors, and airmen protecting us 24/7, 365, our EMS personnel, our firefighters out there, and most importantly, our police officers. If you see one, buy them a cup of coffee. They really mean it.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.